In the hallowed grounds of the Premier League, where legends are born and dreams are realized, 5 extraordinary figures decided to rewrite the rules of what it means to be a football hero. Welcome to Rainbow Spotlight, where we celebrate the voices that proved authenticity isn't just powerful in football, it's revolutionary. Today, we're exploring football's gay icons who have shaped the Premier League era, even when the league itself hasn't always been ready to embrace them. These aren't just football stories. They're courage stories that prove the most important goals aren't always scored on the pitch, but in the hearts and minds of millions watching. From the teenager who became Britain's first openly gay footballer in over 30 years, to the legendary midfielder who changed Premier League culture forever, each story demonstrates that living your truth doesn't limit your impact. It amplifies it beyond imagination. Number 3's pioneering courage in 1990 literally cost him everything but created every possibility that exists today. And number 1. Their breakthrough at just 17 years old has inspired a new generation of footballers to believe authenticity and excellence can coexist beautifully. Drop a football emoji if you believe the beautiful game should welcome everyone who loves it. Because what we're about to reveal proves that the most important victories in Premier League history weren't about trophies. They were about the courage to live your complete truth when the whole world was watching. Subscribe to Rainbow Spotlight because, honey, these football heroes are about to remind you that the most beautiful game happens when players and fans bring their authentic selves to every match. When Jake Daniels first joined Blackpool FC's academy as a young striker with Premier League dreams, he seemed destined to follow the traditional English football path: youth development, first-team breakthrough, and hopefully the ascent through football's pyramid toward elite competition. His technical ability and natural finishing had caught attention from championship scouts, while his work ethic and professional attitude established him as a promising prospect in English football's developmental system. But on May 16, 2022, at just 17 years old, Daniels made a decision that would forever change British football history. He became the first active professional male footballer in the UK to publicly come out as gay since Justin Fashanu in 1990, proving that authentic courage can transform individual dreams into universal inspiration and systematic change. The announcement that changed everything was inspired by Olympic diving champion Tom Daley, whose 2021 alternative Christmas message on Channel 4 called for one impossibly brave Premier League player to step forward and say, "I am gay." Daniels watched that clip over and over again before finding the courage to speak his truth to Sky Sports News. "Now is the right time to do it. I feel like I am ready to tell people my story. I want people to know the real me." The response was immediately supportive, with messages from Premier League clubs, international footballers, and LGBTQ+ advocates worldwide celebrating his bravery. What makes Daniels' breakthrough so significant is how naturally he integrated authentic self-expression with continued football excellence. His performances following his coming out remained consistently strong, demonstrating that living authentically enhanced, rather than distracted from his athletic focus. Obviously, I am a gay footballer, but at the end of the day, I am just a footballer, and I just want to be a professional footballer, Daniels explained in 2023, emphasizing that his sexuality was just one aspect of his complete identity. The internet embraced Daniels' approach to authentic living and his commitment to using his platform for meaningful representation. His criticism of Jordan Henderson's move to Saudi Arabia, "It slaps me in my face," demonstrated thoughtful advocacy beyond personal achievement. His belief that an openly gay Premier League footballer will emerge in the next couple of years shows optimism that his courage is creating possibilities for others. What's most compelling about Daniels' influence is how he's proven that modern British football can support openly LGBTQ+ players when provided with authentic leadership. His choice to remain visible and continue advocating while pursuing his professional career demonstrates remarkable balance between personal authenticity and athletic ambition. His recent statement that coming out was "one of the best things I've ever done in my life" proves that authentic living strengthens rather than complicates professional pursuits. The most remarkable aspect of Daniel's revolution is how he's normalized conversations about LGBTQ plus identity in British football while maintaining focus on athletic development. His approach to fame prioritizes genuine representation and meaningful advocacy over traditional celebrity metrics. Industry observers note his substantial influence on younger players who see authentic identity and football success as naturally compatible. Whether through his pioneering coming-out announcement, his continued football excellence, or simply his courage to exist authentically as a young professional footballer when no British player had done so for over 3 decades, Daniels represents something revolutionary about contemporary British football. Proof that authentic representation creates possibilities for future generations, and that sometimes the most important victories happen when someone is brave enough to live their complete truth at just 17 years old, inspiring an entire nation to believe that football truly is for everyone. Drop a 1 if Jake Daniels' teenage courage proves that the most important records aren't about goals scored. They're about barriers broken by young people brave enough to be themselves when the whole world is watching. When Thomas Hitzlsperger first arrived in the Premier League as a 21-year-old midfielder joining Aston Villa in 2001, he seemed destined to become exactly what English football needed. A versatile German player who could contribute defensively and offensively, bring Bundesliga professionalism to Villa Park, and represent the internationalization of English football. His career in England would span multiple clubs, Aston Villa, West Ham United, and Everton, while earning 52 caps for Germany and participating in major tournaments including the 2006 World Cup and 2008 European Championships. But Hitzlsperger's true legacy extends far beyond statistics into the realm of pioneering courage and proving that Premier League players could achieve authentic representation while maintaining elite careers at English football's highest level. The decision that changed everything came 4 months after retirement in January 2014, when Hitzlsperger became the first player who had competed in the Premier League to publicly come out as gay. His announcement in German newspaper Die Zeit was carefully considered and beautifully articulated. "I'm coming out about my homosexuality because I want to move the discussion about homosexuality among professional sports forward." The response was overwhelmingly positive, with former teammates, coaches, and fans celebrating his courage and emphasizing that his sexuality never affected his professional relationships or performance. What makes Hitzlsperger's cultural impact so significant is how thoughtfully he's used his platform to advocate for systematic change rather than seeking temporary publicity. His 2024 support for the Premier League's Rainbow Laces campaign, appearing in Aston Villa's social media content and discussing progress since his playing days, demonstrates long-term commitment to meaningful representation. "I have seen enormous progress," Hitzlsperger reflected. "The fact that I was able to tell my story and come out in 2014 and my involvement in different areas of the sport I love shows there has been progress." The internet has celebrated Hitzlsperger's evolution from respected player to thoughtful advocate as proof that former Premier League players can create lasting cultural change. His honest discussions about locker room culture during his playing days, acknowledging that teammates sometimes made derogatory remarks about homosexuality, provided crucial context about how LGBTQ plus representation has evolved in English football. His perspective that we are not in a perfect situation, and we may never be, demonstrates realistic understanding of ongoing challenges. What's most compelling about Hitzlsperger's influence is how he's balanced celebrating progress with acknowledging continued work needed in football culture. His recent comments about applauding the ones who wear rainbow armbands during 2024's Rainbow Laces campaign controversy shows continued engagement with contemporary issues. His choice to remain visible in football spaces while advocating for inclusion demonstrates authentic commitment to long-term change rather than one-time announcements. The most remarkable aspect of Hitzlsperger's legacy is how he proved that Premier League history and LGBTQ+ representation could coexist beautifully when supported by authentic courage and thoughtful advocacy. His approach to post-career visibility prioritizes education, meaningful dialogue, and systematic improvement over traditional celebrity management. Industry observers note his substantial influence on how former Premier League players can use their platforms for social change while maintaining respect within football communities. Whether through his pioneering coming out announcement, his continued advocacy work, or simply his courage to exist as the first openly gay player associated with Premier League history, Hitzlsperger represents something foundational about English football progress. Proof that authentic representation creates lasting change when supported by genuine commitment, thoughtful communication, and the courage to transform personal truth into universal progress that benefits future generations of players and fans. Drop a 2 if Thomas Hitzlsperger's Premier League courage proves that the most important assists aren't on the pitch. They're the ones that help future players live authentically while pursuing their dreams. When Justin Fashanu first burst onto the English football scene in the late 1970s, he seemed destined to become exactly what the beautiful game needed. A towering striker who could score spectacular goals, dominate aerial battles, and represent the evolution of black excellence in English football. His career would establish him as one of the most talented forwards of his generation, becoming the first black footballer to command a £1 million transfer fee when he moved from Norwich City to Nottingham Forest in 1981, scoring one of the greatest goals in match-of-the-day history with his stunning volley against Liverpool, and representing England at various youth levels. But Fashanu's true legacy extends far beyond football into the realm of pioneering courage, tragic sacrifice, and proving that authentic living in 1990s football required extraordinary bravery that would cost him everything he loved most. The moment that changed everything came on October 22, 1990, when Fashanu became the first professional footballer in England to publicly come out as gay in an interview with the Sun newspaper. "I am gay," declared the headline, making Fashanu the most visible LGBTQ+ athlete in British sports history. But rather than celebration, his revelation was met with unprecedented hostility. Homophobic abuse from fans, rejection from teammates, and systematic exclusion from English football that would drive him to play in lower leagues and eventually overseas to escape the toxic environment his authenticity had created. What makes Fashanu's sacrifice so tragic and significant is how completely he was abandoned by the football community that had once celebrated his talent. His own brother John Fashanu, also a professional footballer, publicly distanced himself, famously stating that Justin was an outcast and that his sexuality disgusted him. Clubs stopped signing him, fans subjected him to constant abuse, and the media treatment was relentlessly negative. His final years were marked by legal troubles, personal struggles, and the isolation that came from being the only openly gay man in a sport that actively rejected LGBTQ+ identity. The internet now recognizes Fashanu as a foundational figure whose sacrifice paved the way for all future LGBTQ+ representation in football. His tragic death in 1998, found hanged in a garage in London after fleeing to England from the United States, where he faced sexual assault charges, was ruled a suicide by coroner, ending the life of football's first openly gay professional in devastating circumstances. Contemporary advocates consistently acknowledge that every openly gay footballer today stands on Justin's shoulders and benefits from opportunities that exist only because he was brave enough to go first. What's most compelling about Fashanu's legacy is how completely the narrative has evolved since his death. The football that rejected him in the 1990s now celebrates him as a pioneer and hero. Norwich City, where he achieved his greatest success, now honors him with annual tributes, while LGBTQ+ football organizations worldwide recognize him as their founding inspiration. His story has become a cautionary tale about the costs of homophobia and proof that authentic courage often requires enormous personal sacrifice. The most heartbreaking aspect of Fashanu's journey is how he died before seeing the progress his courage made possible. His approach to authenticity prioritized honest self-expression over personal safety or career security, ultimately costing him everything but creating every possibility for future generations. Industry observers note that Fashanu's sacrifice directly influenced every positive change in football's relationship with LGBTQ+ identity. Whether through his pioneering coming out announcement, his unwavering authenticity despite devastating consequences, or simply his courage to exist openly as a gay footballer when doing so meant losing everything he had worked his entire life to achieve, Fashanu represents something foundational about human progress. Proof that revolutionary change often requires individuals willing to pay the ultimate price for authentic living, creating possibilities for future generations to exist more freely, safely, and authentically than ever before. Drop a 3 if Justin Fashanu's ultimate sacrifice proves that the most important goals aren't scored in nets. They're the ones that create space for everyone who comes after, even when scoring costs everything. When Josh Cavallo first signed with Adelaide United in 2020, he seemed positioned to become another promising midfielder, working his way through Australian A-League football. Talented enough to contribute at professional level, dedicated enough to develop his career internationally, but facing the typical uncertainty that defines building a football career outside Europe's elite leagues. His performances as a left-back and central midfielder were solid and showed potential, but nothing suggested he would become the most important figure in international football's LGBTQ+ representation. Then, on October 27, 2021, the 21-year-old Australian made a decision that would forever change global football culture. He came out as gay in an emotional video, becoming the world's only active, openly gay top-flight male professional footballer, proving that authentic courage can transform individual careers into worldwide movements for acceptance and change. The video that changed everything was remarkably vulnerable and beautifully authentic. "I'm a footballer, and I'm gay," Cavallo declared, explaining that he wanted to help other players struggling with their identity and use his platform to build bridges for the LGBTQ+ community. His announcement generated global headlines and overwhelming support from major clubs including Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool, while superstars like Zlatan Ibrahimovic publicly praised his courage. The fact that Premier League clubs were among the first to celebrate his bravery demonstrated English football's readiness for authentic representation. What makes Cavallo's connection to English football so compelling is his recent announcement that he's transferring to the UK in 2025 with his fiancée. "It's not goodbye forever, but now it's time to leave the nest with my fiancée by my side. Football and life have taken me further than I ever imagined, and new opportunities have led to a new life waiting for us across the world," he wrote. His potential arrival in British football would create the possibility of Premier League or Championship representation that English football has never seen. The internet has embraced Cavallo's fearless approach to authentic living and his refusal to minimize his advocacy despite facing constant threats. His daily death threats and description of the football environment as very toxic demonstrate the enormous personal risk he accepts to live authentically. His criticism of FIFA's treatment of LGBTQ+ issues and his refusal to attend the 2034 World Cup in Saudi Arabia due to anti-gay laws shows authentic commitment to meaningful change over career convenience. What's most remarkable about Cavallo's potential impact on English football is how his arrival could fulfill Jake Daniels' prediction that an openly gay player will reach Premier League level in the next couple of years. His engagement to his partner, announced with a proposal at Cooper's Stadium, demonstrates that authentic love and professional football can flourish together, creating possibilities for English football to finally welcome its first openly gay top-flight player. The most powerful aspect of Cavallo's journey is how he's proven that individual courage can create global cultural change despite enormous personal costs. His approach to fame prioritizes community building, authentic advocacy, and meaningful representation over personal safety or traditional celebrity comfort. Industry observers note that his potential arrival in British football could represent the breakthrough that English football has been waiting for since Justin Fashanu. Whether through his pioneering global announcement, his continued excellence despite threats, or his upcoming move to British football, where he could become the first openly gay player to compete in English football's elite levels. Cavallo represents something revolutionary about contemporary progress, proof that authentic representation transcends borders, and that sometimes the most important signings aren't about tactical improvement, but about showing young people worldwide that football truly is for everyone. Drop a 4 if Josh Cavallo's global courage proves that the most important transfers are the ones that bring authenticity, hope, and the possibility for every young footballer to believe they can compete as their complete selves. When Arsenal's LGBTQ+ supporters group Gay Gooners first formed in 2013, they seemed positioned to become another niche fan organization, dedicated supporters who could create safe spaces for LGBTQ+ fans while supporting their beloved club, but unlikely to achieve the mainstream recognition that defines cultural movements. Their mission was simple but revolutionary: make Emirates Stadium and Arsenal culture genuinely welcoming for LGBTQ+ supporters who had often felt isolated or unsafe in traditional football environments. But throughout 2025, the Gay Gooners have transformed from grassroots organization to Premier League-recognized cultural force, proving that authentic fan advocacy can create systematic change that influences entire leagues and reshapes football culture from the stands upward. The recognition that changed everything came in June 2025 when the official Premier League Instagram account celebrated the Gay Gooners with a dedicated post acknowledging their work to empower the LGBT+ community to feel safe and comfortable at football. The post generated 32,000 likes and 1,100 comments, demonstrating massive support for LGBTQ+ inclusion in English football. This official recognition represented a historic moment. The Premier League actively celebrating LGBTQ+ fan culture and acknowledging that authentic inclusion requires community organization and grassroots advocacy. What makes the Gay Gooners' cultural impact so significant is how systematically they've created inclusive environments that extend beyond match days into year-round community building. Their work includes organizing pride events, providing safe spaces for LGBTQ+ supporters, educating fellow fans about inclusion, and collaborating with Arsenal on official LGBTQ+ initiatives. Their approach demonstrates that authentic representation requires sustained community effort rather than symbolic gestures. The internet has embraced the Gay Gooners' approach to fan-led change and their commitment to making football stadiums genuinely welcoming for LGBTQ+ supporters. Their social media presence showcases match experiences, community events, and advocacy work that feels genuine rather than performative. Fellow supporter groups across English football have followed their model, creating similar organizations at clubs throughout the Premier League and lower divisions. What's most compelling about the Gay Gooners' influence is how they represent the evolution of football fan culture toward authentic inclusion. Unlike top-down initiatives, their grassroots approach demonstrates that lasting change comes from supporters themselves demanding better environments. Their success has inspired LGBTQ+ supporters groups at other Premier League clubs, creating a network of advocates who are transforming English football culture from within. The most remarkable aspect of the Gay Gooners revolution is how they've proven that fan advocacy can influence official league policies and mainstream recognition. Their approach to inclusion prioritizes practical change, community building, and authentic support over traditional activism methods. Industry observers note their substantial influence on how Premier League clubs approach LGBTQ+ inclusion and fan engagement. Whether through their grassroots organizing, their official Premier League recognition, or simply their courage to create authentic safe spaces in football environments that haven't always welcomed LGBTQ+ supporters, the Gay Gooners represent something beautiful about contemporary football culture. Proof that the most powerful change often comes from supporters themselves refusing to accept environments that exclude or marginalize members of their community. Their legacy demonstrates that football's LGBTQ+ revolution isn't just about players coming out, It's about creating inclusive cultures where everyone can support their teams authentically, safely, and joyfully. As one gay Gooner reflected, "We just want to watch Arsenal and feel like we belong. That shouldn't be revolutionary, but somehow it is." Drop a 5 if the Gay Gooners fan revolution proves that the most important goals are scored in the stands when supporters create inclusive spaces where everyone can celebrate the beautiful game together. From Jake Daniels' teenage breakthrough to Thomas Hitzelsperger's Premier League legacy, from Justin Fashanu's ultimate sacrifice to Josh Cavallo's global courage and the Gay Gooners fan revolution, these 5 stories prove that Premier League heroes don't always wear the jerseys, but they all share the courage to live their truth when football needed them most. Each story reminds us that progress in football, like progress in society, requires people brave enough to go first, to endure hardship, and to prioritize authenticity over approval. Whether through pioneering coming-out moments, systematic advocacy, ultimate sacrifice, global inspiration, or grassroots organizing, these heroes transformed English football from a sport that demanded silence into one that increasingly celebrates authentic living. Their collective impact shows us that the most important victories in football history weren't about championships or trophies, but about creating spaces where future players and fans can exist completely authentically. They've proven that the beautiful game becomes truly beautiful only when it welcomes everyone who loves it. Which Premier League hero's courage resonated most with your understanding of authenticity in football? Drop your numbers 1 through 5 and tell us where you're watching from, because these stories continue to inspire people worldwide who are learning that football truly can be for everyone. If you believe the Premier League should celebrate every kind of excellence, smash that like button. Subscribe to Rainbow Spotlight for more celebrations of authentic courage. Remember, in a league built on tradition and excellence, these 5 heroes showed us that the greatest tradition of all is the courage to be completely yourself, and the highest form of excellence is creating space for others to do the same. This is Rainbow Spotlight, where Premier League heroes live their truth and change everything.